What's good, people? It's your boy, Icarus Gray. And this is Gray Area Anime, the most wonderful podcast of your day. And we are back with another one. I said back with another one. Kirby says, hi, because it's dangerous to go alone. So I choose you guys to go on this journey of all things anime, gaming, and geekdom in between. Welcome back. Today, got a bit of a, I guess I can call it it's not a special topic, but it's us getting back into form and talking the thing that we all enjoy. Hey, all right, Navi, I got it. Which is anime. And there are a couple of really good anime this summer season that I've been enjoying, but one that is kind of standing up top for me that I was not expecting to enjoy this much is technically it's called Undead Murder Farce, but on Crunchyroll it's just Undead Murder Farce. And let me speak a little bit clear because I feel like I'm saying Undead Murder Farts, and that's not farce is what I'm actually saying. But yeah, I'm gonna give you all the Crunchyroll synopsis real quick, and also in the building is the executive producer of this here podcast. Prima Diva is in the building.
Hello. I'm happy to have finally been allowed to speak. Hey, everybody.
So, I'm just going to get straight to the synopsis.
We're just going to jump right over that. Go ahead.
I'm sorry that
I just thought it was funny that you were like, this is what we're going to talk about. And I didn't even get to say, hey, what's up? I was like, oh, okay. I guess they're just going to hear me start talking and be like, where did this random voice come from?
Which would have been way less
would
awkward.
Have been totally fine.
Than being like, yeah,
I felt awkward, so I thought it
thank you for letting
important
me
to
talk.
make everyone else feel a little bit awkward too. It makes their day better.
It does. Not at all. But I'm so glad that is your thought process on it. Excellent producing.
Welcome to my awkward. Happy to be here.
So the synopsis, which I'll just get to. In this world, creatures like vampires and werewolves still walk about. But Ayarendo can't say the same for herself. The beautiful disembodied head, carried by her maid Shizuku Hazai, is a detective in search of her stolen body. One evening, they meet the half-human Oni slayer Suguru Sunichi, who offers a lending hand. Now the trio is traveling through Europe, solving mysteries all along the way. Or along the way, not all along. But anyway. So that little brief synopsis doesn't do this series justice in a certain way. And I mean, I guess it should be enough to kind of get you in. Are you about to like counter me with a synopsis you found?
No, I wasn't going to counter you. I was going to offer it to you. I was going to show you, first of all.
You're so very
before
helpful.
We start breaking it down.
Okay.
Should I show you or just offer it?
You just go ahead. I'm letting you run this episode today.
What? I don't want to run the episode. I was just asking.
Like, you want to make people feel awkward and then give them synopsis and things.
Because I feel like that gives you some. Yeah. Here you go.
Well, that gonna get there. That was kind of gonna be on our talking points when we got to talking about the characters. You get. No, okay,
if we. Let me tell you guys how bad of a executive producer I am. Clearly, if we'd had a pre-production meeting, we would have our stuff together. Y'all, give me grace. I'm gonna get better.
Anyway, the thing about the show is it caught me off guard because of how well it does storytelling and mystery. And I'm a huge fan of like mysteries because I want to try and solve it, whether it's Murder on the Orient Express, I don't want to say murder so much, but only murders in the building.
Because that show rocks. Like, it's really good.
Among, a plethora of other mysteries, like even thrillers to where you want to just get to the end and kind of figure out who did what, when, where, why. I just got done playing Rain Code, which was an amazing game. I think the setup that they did and the mysteries that they had were really good. But long story less long, I just love mysteries, and this show does that incredibly well, along with being shot very beautifully, which is another reason I wanted to talk about this, because Prima Diva was kind of going, I was watching her catch up to me, because she had watched like episode 2 and 3 passively next to me, to where she was like, this seems kind of good, and then she went and watched the first episode and episode 4, which is out by the time we're recording this. And the way she was watching, because I thought she was just, like really, really interested. And she was like, no, I was looking at their shot choices and the different things that they were doing. I was like, oh, well, that's a good vantage point as well, because it lends to the storytelling. And it wasn't something that I picked up on immediately, because I was just into the whodunit of it all, which they do very well. And it's kind of like, it's in the 19th century, and the first episode kind of just sets up the characters, whereas episodes 2 through 4 set up the journey of like crime solving we're about to go on, and kind of like the ultimate goal of that. So basic synopsis of like the first episode, just kind of get that out of the way, because I really want to get into 2 and 3 and the shots and stuff. Rendo meets blah 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 Sugaru, and long story less long, you find out that Sugaru is a Oni / human, which basically for him means he has a very short lifespan, because if he fights or if he uses energy, the Oni inside of him takes over him more, and if he continues to do so, he will ultimately be devoured by he'll die, and the Oni will pretty much like take over. This was not something that was his choice. You see kind of somewhere that he was experimented on and thus created to be this way. He meets Rendo, who is the immortal, and she's just the head, because the only beings able to injure any sort of the like what I want to say. I don't want to say the occult or the macabre of basically all of like the folklore, whether it's a werewolf, vampire. The only way that they can be injured is by Onis.
These supernatural beings. That's essentially what they are. Yeah.
But Onis are the only ones that like across the board in terms of this world can actually injure
them.
Yeah. And kill and like nullifies their
immortality,
the magic and everything else.
Yeah.
And so, that's essentially why she's just the head, because otherwise she probably would have just regenerated or something. I think clearly is what she said at some point.
Yeah, she said that the guy that, and I know we're probably going to get into like how her body was taken and everything, but because of the fact, like you were saying, that it was an Oni that did it, it stopped her regenerative processes, like you were mentioning, from continuing. So she can just be a hit, unfortunately.
And so initially her request to him, request to Sugaru was just end it. Like, I'm not living my life as a head. And he's like, okay. And here's his intelligence, which is very understated currently, but only if you, I guess, look at it from one perspective for the character. He immediately pieces together, this was another person that would have been created in the same way that I was created. And
no, it was when she actually described who did it, like who was there, that he was like, oh, that, okay. I think we have a common enemy.
Yeah.
It was when she was recounting how it happened.
But I also think he kind of, in my mind, I feel like he's way more intelligent than given credit for it. Like, they make him seem very...
He says poetry. after a fight. The man is he's very intelligent.
But it kind of just seems like, or at least how they want to play him, is very aggressive, very into the fight, into the madness and kind of chaos of it all. Whereas you can see, if you're following like the smaller little plot points, he has a very strong stance on society as a whole. Mm-hmm. He is protective of people, in a small sense. He's protective, and I think it's more so he's against discrimination in a certain way. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I think so. There's an instance where the villagers in this town are about to like attack a cat, and it's just a cat. But because we're in the folklore world, and we're in a world where I think it was, what is it called, the Purge, I think.
Yeah, they kind of did. They did kind of purge all the supernatural beings. So it's post-apocalyptic in a sense that all of the supernatural beings that would have been roaming around freely during this time have now been hunted and exterminated, to the point that the few that are remaining are either used as entertainment points, like the ones that we find in the first episode, or are trying to find ways to live alongside humans in a peaceable way. And obviously they're dealing with all the political and social issues that arise around that concept.
And it's early 19th century, which is the funniest thing to say in the world now.
It's actually pretty a great time. I'm struggling here because I really want to talk about it from the filmmaking perspective, and it's hard to stay in episode 1 right now. I'm like thinking about this from
but just ending the episode 1 thing is just basically his thing to her is, why don't we go, instead of me doing this, why don't we go after the person who did this, who we both know happens to be the same person at this point.
Yeah, like the person that was that gave the order because the main guy doesn't seem to be an Oni himself, but gave the order for her to lose her body, is the same one that experimented on our main character. So
right, and I'm pretty sure, given the Sherlock Holmes-esque, who is also mentioned and exists in this world, but we will not come into contact with him, I'm almost positive.
I mean, I feel like that would be ridiculous.
It would just...
but that's what a farce is. Yeah. It's ridiculous. But at the same time, I still think... I don't know.
But then again, maybe. Because they basically set us up in that Sherlock Holmes... and this was my commentary, especially once we got into episode 2, and where they mentioned that Sherlock Holmes exists. Mm-hmm. And then the first case that they're dealing with is a case with vampires and trying to figure out who killed this lord's wife,
the lady of the house,
the lady of the house. Godard is his Lord Godard or whatever. And with that, they introduced basically that we're in the vampire, werewolves, Frankenstein-esque. If you're looking at the intro, you can see clearly some of the antagonists are going to be from the monster. And I always forget what the actual name or collective is called, because they have a name. And so like when you're talking about Frankenstein werewolf, Frankenstein's monster, Dracula, and so on and so forth. I can't remember it. Doesn't really matter. It's not that important, but I was really interested in this creation of this world. And I talk about this all the time. I think since the era of the MCU or any X-Men, Avengers TV show or reading a comic book, we like knowing about the entire world that these heroes and people exist in, because it's like, hey, why does Superman never pop up in Gotham, or not all the time in terms of like certain things that kind of go on that just like put this to a stop. And when you put it in context of, well, he was fighting Lex Luthor or whatever the case may be, it gives you like this cool sense of like, oh man, this is like so cool. And then you're like, I wonder what so-and-so is doing. So I think it's like the Monster Squad or something like that.
No, that's a movie. That's a good movie, but yeah.
But
they're known as, well, the ones you mentioned are known as like classical monsters, but
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what their official title or category is.
But oh man, there was a thought there, and I'm so old, and
you can't be. No, we got to keep the kids' attention. What are you doing? Snap it back like collagen. You could do it.
I can do it if you don't interrupt me. I've expressed it. I don't know what else to do. I can't tell you.
I'm trying to help. More. If you look, you guys, if it was possible, I would love to put like the little emoji, or like, I'm sorry, not emoji, like a little meme of something, or is it GIF or GIF? I never know. I've heard it so many ways of like a little cheerleader, like an anime cheerleader doing the pom poms. Either way, like that's how I feel right now. I'm trying to cheer them on, you guys.
Thank you so much. You're doing the most amazing job that I've ever.
Don't worry, I'll cut it out later. It's fine. We'll just bleep that out.
So overall, I just like being in that playpen of characters and seeing how these people would interact. It's the toy box feeling of, you're playing with your Power Ranger and you got a Ninja Turtle. And it's like, although we know that they've had crossovers, that you wouldn't have thought about that at the time. And I think the creation of that world, just in these small mentions, makes it really cool in terms of where I think the series is going to go. I know it's a bit on the darker side, so I'm going to say for those who are spiritually inclined, be careful. Just in general, be careful.
I think because it's a farce, though, it's easier. A lot of times it's easier for us to watch these kinds of things because, I mean, even the name, right? Like Undead Murder Farce, that's hilarious. It sounds like Undead Murder Force, right? Like it sounds like it's supposed to be taken seriously. But like the fact that they call it a farce in the name, and they define that for you in the very beginning, letting you know like a farce is like some ludicrously over the top literature or genre or some, but it's often used in a beautiful way to critique society. And so I find it like, if you are spiritually inclined, I still think that there's something here for you when it talk like in terms of how we're talking about these relationships across the countries, because we start in Japan, but then we move to, I think, Germany here.
Europe.
So like, Europe, but I'm saying
Europe,
Germany.
But I don't think they're oh gosh, you ramble, because I know you have so many things you would probably like to ramble about, but ramble while I look up some things.
Oh my God, thank you for qualifying my analysis as ramble. Anyway, so moving from like Japan to some part of Europe that seems German to me, but it's probably France. I don't know. Anyways, so like seeing the differences, like where we're in Japan, everybody's like using these lesser beings, if you will, these supernatural beings as sideshow characters, as these centers for entertainment, and how that's affecting our character when we meet him versus when we go to, Europe. They're not using them in that way. They're trying to figure out how to live together, like they're playing it out in the political sphere, and other people are using that within their own community, using that to sabotage their efforts. Okay. Within the monster community. That is wild. Like when you think about it from that perspective. The other aspect that I really liked in terms of the filmmaking perspective is when we first are introduced to them in the very first episode. I mean, I know it's hard to say shots when we're talking about something animated, but the pains, the frames, however you want to describe it, what they chose to do in terms of their transitions, how we're dealing with this disembodied head, right? All the times that they chose to frame up just the faces or just just these moments. And it gives you this constant movement while we're having this long dialogue and this carnival kind of feel. So you still there are moments where the world is completely disconnected. You go from this rundown, probably more realistic version of what Japan or this particular part of Japan probably looked like, where the huts are all distorted and, you know, broken down to this carnival festival, beautiful, bright colored, you know, and like just the choices that they're making creatively and how that connects to their story is ridiculous. I mean, it's just beautifully done.
And they also have this thing where they use it's kind of it's poetic, so it's very haiku in the beginning in terms of like how they're telling you that we're in the 19th century. This is a complete and utter tale of a certain point in history, like this change, but it's not the one that we know. Yeah. And so like using that and then throwing in all of these characters, and like I said, making it very poetic in every shot. They're showing the faces, but they're showing the faces at angles that either evoke a certain emotion because you're off kilter or you're in a place of like, oh, okay, why am I staring at this face? Why does this emotion matter? And then you look at the words they're saying or translated to, which I'm pretty sure that even in the as I try my best to learn more Japanese, which I really need to get on. The reason I want to learn more, especially like, and even have it subtitled still, but just in Japanese, is because you don't get as many of the alliterations that kanji has without knowing the language. So there'll be certain things in terms of like, you know, my name is Cat, but it's used with the lake kanji versus the mountain, you know, and then like there's a whole pun in those things. And I think that the poetry of this and the way that they take their time to really allow what's going on to sink in. They let you sit in the tension. They let you sit in, okay, well, can you guess and can you figure out? Because we're going to be using all of the murder mystery tropes in different ways, whether it's locked room mystery, like how did you get in and out of this room when there's no way that you should be able to get in here? You know, they're using time delays and like all of these different things, but you're also because they're talking about the unnatural or supernatural, however y'all define it. You're also now dealing with feats that would even shake that up. So it's like, okay, initially like in a locked room thing, you might think, okay, you came through the ceiling, like there was like a small vent, you sent a rat in or something and like locked the door after you left or something crazy. Whereas now it's like, could it have also been a ghost? You know, could it have also have been any other thing? You know, could have been a changeling or something of that nature, and it like increases the possibilities for how you're going to end up solving murders. But yeah, the film direction, I think you were also saying some other, like there was something you said just about their shot choices and like what you felt, I think they were inspired by.
I mean, yeah, but I would rather just more research to see.
But just shoot your guesses because I'm pretty sure you're not going to be far off.
I don't know. It kind of like some of it, I don't know. Some of it feels like it might have been Western inspired. Some of it feels kind of like Akira Kurosawa or some other, like, just in terms of the influence of the style and the pacing of the movie, like of the show. So yeah, that's one thing. I do have a question for you though. Okay, so I'm going to say it now. Spoiler alert. And it might not necessarily be that much of a spoiler, so I won't. I'm just going to let you know it might be a little bit, but I don't think it'll be that much. So the episode that just dropped that we had seen prior to
episode 4
that we'd seen prior to recording this podcast, which I think is the main attraction.
The
headliner appears. That's what it is. So in the conversation that we get between our main character and his opponent, I'll say. One of the things that we are made aware of in the very first episode is that he was experimented on. In the conversation of the fourth episode, we find out where he came from and what he was doing prior to being what I would assume is caught. So when we talk about, or when he talks about what he's hoping to happen if he keeps fighting as an Oni before the deal is made, what do you think about that? Like, what do you think that, what kind of implications? Yes. Like based on what we found out in episode 4, what kind of implications do you think that has in terms of our understanding of how he got from where he was to where he is, and now how he feels about where he was in episode 1? Why he would respond that way when she's like, "Why would you keep fighting?" You know.
I think of it in the sense of basically if the Joker had a sense of reason. The Joker from Batman, in terms of just his
if the
thought
Joker
process.
started off as a hero, you mean?
No, just had a sense of reason. Like, so Joker in and of itself is just chaos. It's just chaos, period. Chaos for chaos sake. His reasoning at that time is just like, I know what's going to happen to me. I know that my time is going to run out. But I also know, like I said, his strong stance on, he don't like, it's basically understanding discrimination intensely. And so for him, it's like, because they show those key moments in terms of whether it was with the cat and everything else, that it's not like I really enjoy this, but I'm always watching you. I'm always watching the crowd. I'm always watching their enjoyment of it. And therefore, what he was inviting was the grandest, like, if you're and to me, it's kind of like, if you're indulging in this, you should be consumed by this.
And see, and I guess I should be more explicit, so I'm gonna go ahead and say spoiler alert for real this time. So when he's talking to dude, he's telling him he used to be on the force that was sent to hunt the demons or to hunt the monsters. Then he became one. And after he became one, he was made to fight. Now, his history at this point has been deleted because now he's an Oni. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking like, because my take on that is that implies some level of betrayal. And that's another reason why I think it's very interesting that it's in the 19th century where we experienced both our world wars, where we, and so many other wars and stuff like that. Like, I think it's really interesting because in this instance, he was a soldier who was sent to do a job. And then the same, and this is just my implications based on what we've seen so far. Once, the job was completed, or whenever the turn happened, the entities that would have been on his side and would have hired him now are against him. And so, and now he's like, I mean, even in the first episode, dude is like, but you're not a performer. You're a monster. Like he's completely stripped of his humanity, like that to me is, and that, I think that's what's so exciting about it, is because it gives you these opportunities to like kind of, even though it's absurd and stuff, I think they're handling it in such a way that it does invite people to have questions and discussion and stuff.
I think it's more about, and those are all good points, but his sense of justice, if your sense of justice gets shattered in a certain way, so if you're out doing the thing, so if you're on the side, and this is the poetry of it in the sense that it's like, so we were hunting monsters because that was what they were telling us to do. And then to quote unquote become a monster, but realize that the monsters are the people who want to do this and are doing this, is, like I said, that chaotic thought in his mind. It's like, oh, there was a justice that I wanted. Like, y'all can't even tell the difference between a regular cat, but your fear mongering and your propaganda in terms of the way you're viewing these things are so skewed that you don't realize what you've become. And so you should be consumed by that is kind of his whole thing at that point in time. I don't think he's abandoned that, because majority of the time with animes like this, there's still this, I don't plan to die, or I don't plan to give up until this person understands this and is again, consumed by the thing you created or whatever the case may be. And it's in this, and you can tell it by like the enjoyment or the things that he says, because it's just like, the reason you're a monster in terms of like, especially the MacGuffin or whatever of the episode in terms of figuring out what was going on, is because like you didn't have to do this. Like you chose this. Like I didn't choose this aspect of things. And it's like you thought you were in control. You thought this is what you had to do and so on and so forth. And it's just, it's really, it takes a lot, because the mystery in and of itself in terms of how they set it up, like you literally think it's everybody, which is always a good mystery to me. If you can't pin down anybody because everybody has some form of motive, like even from the introduction of Lord Goddard, you could think it was him. You could think it because you could think about being in a situation of discrimination, right? Minorities or otherwise. I think there's often this fear, especially because of how America can be sometimes. You can see that there's a fear of retaliation for bad things that have been done, right? And there are some people that kind of invite that because they want to embrace the chaos or embrace the destruction in that way. Like, yeah, it could all be good, but I don't believe that you will ever be good. I don't believe that you will ever change your stance or change your feelings, kind of thing, right? And you're dealing with that on so many different levels and accounts. I think
our main character believes that too.
Yeah.
And that's what's so sad. Like, I mean, his comment about like humans and monsters never being able to get along. We can't get along.
But I think, again, like I said before, the skew standpoint of this is where I stood. I've been on both sides. Mm-hmm. So I've been on the side of, okay, we're going after these people. Now I'm on the side of seeing these people and like, quote unquote, destroying these people. But I've seen you at your worst.
Yeah.
I've seen how you, like, the thing that always interests me about the Coliseum, even, just the thought of it, is that was entertainment for people, like, and it wasn't just, the upper crust.
No, but it was entertainment primarily for
entertainment.
The peasants, because that kept them happy.
And like, even though, like, but if you're on the field, if you're that person that's down there, same thing I think about like with all the sports today. We normally don't really care about what's going on with that person because we're so self-involved that I just need my feel good, or I just need the energy that you give, whatever the case may be. And it's just so poetically, and I keep saying it, y'all, but it's just really written well. The dialogue is amazing, very articulate, very Shakespearean. And just overall sets the stage very well for mystery, for like introspection, for like thought process, and just thinking about, okay, so are these cases standalone, or do all these cases play into each other? Because at the end of the first case, you realize that the person that they're looking for was there a couple days prior.
Why? What a twist.
And like,
so they are hot on this man's trail at this point. And it's been a couple years between the first, I want to make that clear too, between the first episode and the second episode. It's been some time, because now they've gotten a reputation for themselves by the time they get to the mansion. They're expecting them to be
2 or 4.
2 or 4.
It's one of the two. I feel like I've seen those numbers in my head, and I'm just going, like, I'm going to trust my instincts. It's 2 or 4.
Okay. I trust your instincts too.
And so, that's the other great thing about a good mystery is, does everything play into one another, or is everything separate? Like, and is it only separate because I couldn't understand the web of it all? you know, like how much of an Eisen mind bleep is this? You know what I'm like? You know what I'm saying? Like how far along are all of these different things? And you know, it's really good. So overall, it is something that I recommend out of the summer anime that are out right now. We're gonna do a summer anime like the ones that we're watching right now because we are watching a couple. We're picking back up some old things and trying to go through. We are obviously still watching Bleach. But that one's a little bit more hard to talk about, at least to have my executive producer on because I don't want to like spoil her because I know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'll catch up.
So, but it's a really good season, I think, for thought-provoking anime. And I mean, it's only like a handful of them. Like the rest of them, I think are like just gag stuff, fun stuff, harem, classic kind of stuff, which I don't think they can do those the same way anymore. That's like one of my last little thoughts that's like separate of this really great mystery novel is that I don't know that they can do those in the comedic way that they used to be done. That's like kind of slapstick. Like, because it's just, it can get a bit much.
You sure it's is it them changing or they're not changing or you changing? Which one is it as a viewer?
Probably both, to be honest, because you know that 80s look, that 90s look of those Tenchi Muyos or Rinma and a Half, I think is another one, or even Ikitausen. All of those like just have a certain
but I love that anime. It's horrible.
But that's what I'm saying.
It's horrible.
But that's more so what I mean. It's like, but there's enough jokes in terms of the people's personalities.
Yeah.
That the other, like, that's why you can see that it's extra. Like a lot of times you have to like dig so deep to get these people's personalities because they don't have time to kind of flesh them out in a way that I think is like not sleazy. In the same way that I continuously will say why I don't like Jobless Reincarnation is just because the main character in his past life just, like, I get it. You had a lot of stuff going on, a lot of messed up stuff.
Yeah.
But there's just so much about like his actions that don't seem redeemable for me.
Despicable.
Like to have that kind of stuff happen and then you're just like polyamory and joint, like it's just it's weird to me. I don't think it's
just wish fulfillment. That's it.
Yeah,
there's nothing
and
more
like
to it than that. It's just wish fulfillment.
And I get like there's a lot of anime that is about wish fulfillment or whatever the case may be in those realms. And I'm not saying this to like, if you like it and enjoy it, I'm just saying like, for me, there are a lot of things that are missing that would endear me to the character and be able to endear myself to the story. Like it's just so you want your cake and eat it too, wish fulfillment in terms of the accomplishments and things that like keep him grounded. That is just really hard. And again, it's just hard for me. I may give it a chance again at some point, like when it's like done, so I can just like watch through it and like skip through the stuff that I want to skip through, and just kind of see. But anyway, I said all that basically just to say the harem anime or any of these genres have changed a lot because the joke of it all versus this grounded quote unquote approach. Like the best to currently do it, just as an honorable mention to me, it has obviously been a girlfriend for me. Mm-hmm. Because you're dealing with a college kid who like his hormonal levels are up, down, left, right, crazy. But the characters themselves, in terms of their relationships, in terms of their motivations and the things that they're trying to do, basically speak more to real life outside of this just being wish fulfillment. Yeah. You know, it endears the characters to you, which I'm pretty sure they do in that show. It's just, like I said, he was just such a...
Oh, I think he's endeared to some people.
I'm sure. I'm 100% sure. But I know the people that it's endured to. And I know an age...
I don't know. I was going to say, I don't know that...
I know an age where I would have been endeared to that, but that would have been like, again, absent knowledge of relationships and my own confidence and so on and so forth. Again, no shade to nobody. I'm talking specifically for me.
Yeah.
If any of this happens to match, I'm just, you might want to look. You'll get a little bit more experience and see what I'm talking about.
Here's hoping.
But yeah, overall, this one is really good. I want to come back on and talk about it a lot because I know that there are going to be more mysteries and things that we both really, really enjoy. It has not disappointed. It's visually pleasing.
Very visually pleasing.
The shot selection, I think it kind of reminds me, and it's not the same quality of the Mappa stuff, but it reminds me of Chainsaw Man. Mm-hmm. And Chainsaw Man is 100% in a lot of different ways inspired by so many different directors, and they're literally writing out or drawing out, not writing out, drawing out the shots that are iconic in horror filmography.
That's how this feels.
And so it's beautiful. I really recommend it to you guys. Think you should go and check it out if that's something that you're into in terms of mystery and all of those things. And like we said, be careful if it's not something that you're fool with, because I was looking and Aleister Crowley is going to pop up at some point, and that's a whole nother thing.
Okay.
In and of itself. So it's like they are going to go, they're do
gonna go
because
there.
they're going, because they're dealing with all these things every time. They're going to go occult at some point.
Yeah.
But the mystery of it all, I do believe, is worth it. And I think it's something that if you're into mystery, into solving things, that is one of those that you should check out. Remember that all of the things where you can find us and search for us is down in the description. I really, 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 really am going to impress upon you guys to check out Electric Diva Studios, which I believe is still in the description, as well as following Prima Diva, because there's a lot of things that are coming up on her channel. I'm about to get back active on my channel, doing more like quick reviews and things of that nature, so that way y'all can kind of get more of the mindset that I have when watching something, or why I think it's something for you. And just kind of, things that you need to watch out for. It's going to be really, really enjoyable. We'll be back, like I said, way more regularly. I'm going to make sure I pull the executive producer in, and we're going to have more production meetings prior to, and get us like a little system and schedule or whatever. So we're not always like acting like we're not married. And
I think that's probably the thing. We probably get on here and act way too married.
No, we act more like we've never had a conversation like this. This is my first time meeting you.
Hello,
and
stranger.
You've never like had a conversation with another person to like, well, on a podcast.
Oh,
and like, man, I gotta wait a second. Like you do your thing,
really?
Do my thing.
Okay.
Like I ain't got to make it awkward. I ain't got to make it awkward for everybody. I can just,
I could just experience awkwardness by myself.
You can do that.
Okay,
I'll
think about
also
that
an option.
Future. I'll think about that.
But yeah, Kirby says, hi. I told you guys it's dangerous to go alone. So I choose you guys every time, except for, well, no, I choose you guys every time because you guys are great. You guys are fun. What?
Can we get out of here?
Oh, we got to go?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. But a 1 and a 2 and a peace. Oh, I did it wrong. Wait, 1 and a 2. See, I did it wrong. And a peace.
Holy